gentleman who's in my Lions Club in New Rochelle donated a considerable amount of money to restore the glass and make it more opulent and secure. However, in a short amount of time, that glass apparently needs to have much more refurbishing. So there is a campaign about within the city of New Rochelle to raise funds to make sure the glass is shown to be as beautiful as it can be.
This church was built even before I was born in 1897 by this lady whose name was Eleonora O'Donnell Iselin. Her family lived over in the Davenport Neck. And while they were summering here, they took a look around New Rochelle and they said, we have to help some of the newly arrived people who came from Europe, especially German-speaking people, have a church. So they decided to build this church in 1897, especially for people who spoke the German language. They wanted to have in their own church art, beautiful art. So the building was put up in 1897. Little by little, she and her children introduced all of this great glass. And she also designed the rest of the building. If you look up at the ceiling, you'll see that it is not shaped this way in the form of a gable, but it is the hull of a ship. It's called a barrel-vaulted ceiling. And this part of the church is called a nave. In Latin, it's the navis. And what is a navis? Anybody study in Latin what the navis is? Ships. This is a ship. In the church, we talk about the building as a ship. We are sailing to a shore. Okay? You wouldn't want to build a church like this today. It's too old-fashioned, in the good sense of it. It's an old-fashioned piece of architecture. If I were an architect today, I wouldn't put up a building like this. I'd put up something different, something new, something creative, something modern. And there's lots of buildings around like that. So I'm glad you came. I hope that we gave you some things to think about.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the College of Mount St. Vincent. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about this place before we begin. This is the Chapel of the Immaculate Conception. It was dedicated in 1859. It is a sacred place. For 150 years, young women deciding to become Sisters of Charity have prayed in this place. For the past 30 years, the young men and women who are students at our college have come to this place to be alone with their God, to spend time in prayer and reflection. And so we welcome you to this sacred place. An artist by the name of Constantino Bruniti painted the beautiful rotunda. This is also his work, the crucifixion. This picture belongs to him. I'd like to introduce to you Sister Connie Brennan.
About 20 years ago, there were Sisters of Charity who were teaching in the school, St. Gabriel's Elementary School and St. Gabriel's High School. I can't tell you the history of the Sisters of Charity if I don't tell you about Elizabeth Ann Seton. She was born Elizabeth Bailey, and she was born in New York, 1774. Now, Elizabeth Ann Seton was not a rebel. If anything, she would have been on the side of the English, because her father was Dr. Richard Bailey, who was a very famous doctor at that time. Her mother died when Elizabeth was 5 years old. So Dr. Bailey married again, and Elizabeth and her sister Mary were not made to be very comfortable in the home, so they had to be farmed out or constantly visit relatives. And they visited relatives in New Rochelle. But time passed, and she came back to New York when she was about 18 or 19, and she fell in love with a man by the name of William McGee Seton. Married him, and they lived for a while on a place called Stone Street, which is kind of near Wall Street. Now, this is where Elizabeth's life began to go kind of downhill. Her husband, William Seton, developed tuberculosis, so she got the bright idea to take him on a voyage to Italy. William Seton got worse. He died in Italy. The Felicis told Elizabeth, Elizabeth, you're here. You have to dress in the widow's dress that people in Italy wore. And that is what they wore. They wore the bonnet, they wore a black dress, a black cape. Now Elizabeth, she's not a Catholic. You might think, oh well, Sisters of Charity, she must have been a Catholic. At this point, she was not a Catholic, she was an Episcopalian, but Elizabeth was always kind of religious. And she always kept a diary in which she wrote down her thoughts. And Elizabeth wrote things like, if only I believed that my God was present. If only I believed that when I went to my church, I saw my God and I could talk to him. So Elizabeth came back from Italy really convinced that she wanted to become a Catholic. And she did. And when she became a Catholic, her relatives disowned her. They would not give her any money, they would not give her any help. So she went to Maryland, which I'm sure you might remember from your history, was the one colony that welcomed Catholics. So Elizabeth Seton founded the first school for girls. Women came to join her because she prayed. She had a very strict, scheduled life of prayer. And girls came to join her, and they wanted to look exactly like she did. So in 1809, they appeared on the streets of Maryland in that outfit, which became called a habit.
This was built by a Shakespearean actor for his fiancée. This castle was here before 1849. Thank you. 1849. It was here before we came here, so it's been here forever. This is where I live. I spend every moment of free time I have in here. So this is one of my second homes, and some of the other girls too.